Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wrap Out, the show about gigs and stuff. And I have had a lot of gigs. I used to be a musician in a past life, and I keep touch with all my cronies. And I can't think of anyone more cronier than the guy that we're going to have today. His name's Bill Sarver, a.k.a. Bildo. And he's created a few electronic bands in the area, and we've done a lot of wacky stuff together. And I just realized it's been 25 years since we first started doing things. He was this kind of Kurt Cobain wannabe looking kid just out of college, and he had a band called Necrofix, and asked me to drum with him, and then the rest has been sort of history. So let's just go ahead and get him on. He's waiting in the wings. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there?
You don't look so good.
I don't know where you've been, dude. Don't know what you've been doing.
I see that you've decorated the place. Looks cheerful.
I'm hanging in there, doing what I can to keep humanity alive.
That's a very colorful noose, by the way. It's chipper.
It's I was just stringing up some of my old MIDI cables, which is what we used to use to make keyboards talk to sequencers back in the day when people were smart and stuff.
What's a sequencer?
Is this better? If I turn that on?
It's a little, I don't know. I kind of was digging the morose vibe, but there you can see a little better.
We'll start in the morose vibe because I imagine you're going to start with the industrial goth weenie stuff first.
Yes. The industrial stuff. Austin, for those that are new to town, had a very lively electronic scene back in the late 80s is, I guess, when it started, and then really got full blown going in the mid 90s. And
yes,
there was a lot of bondage stuff on stage and other little goodies, the blood fests, the rituals.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people vomiting and being hung from ceilings by hooks and.
That's funny you should mention that. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, really?
So what was your band at the time when I met you? That was what, Necrofix?
Yes, the best named band in the world, Necrofix. I was a angry testosterone-fueled little boy, and that's how I got my yayas out. And I had started doing basically that since I was 16, when my parents bought me like a Sonic Mirage sampler, which was like an 8-bit floppy drive driven little thing. And I basically started just kind of hooking it up to PCs and using Cakewalk and things like that back then, and
stealing lines from movies.
Yeah, that was the big thing back then in the early 90s, was just grab any kind of stupid phrase from a movie and just randomly mash them in, some sort of Burroughs-esque attempt at heroin wannabe.
I remember the Mirage well. That keyboard, it was a big keyboard with a floppy disk drive. We had one when I lived in South Austin, and we actually had the guy from the gas company come in the house and say into it, "Pay your damn gas bill," because he came to collect. They'd already shut us off.
The one I have, they actually, it's a rack mount.
Oh, you had the rack.
So it didn't even come with keys.
Gotcha.
So that's when I use a TR-505 as a sequencer instead of as a drum machine, which is an ass-backwards way of doing things, of course.
A little bit.
But added to the sound and the flavor of the year at that time.
Yeah, the 8-bit was a good year. It was a good vintage.
Yeah. It wasn't even chiptune back then.
So when did the PC get involved in the mix for the music stuff?
fairly early on when I was still in high school, actually, because I would wire it all up and use Cakewalk at the time.
And that was the
Was the
DOS
big
version of Cakewalk.
Yes.
Because I remember
Yes. There
working with
wasn't a
you on
whole
one
lot of
song with that. There you go. I thought we lost you.
recordings. Oh no, I'm here. I think. Are
Yeah,
we all
you're
still
here.
here? Is
You're
the
there.
world over?
You're there.
Okay. Okay.
This is what I get for not hooking hardlining to the router and going for the Wi-Fi.
Well, it's because of all the people joining in. We're breaking the internet right now.
Oh, that's
sure.
So anyway, hey, just for funsies, I'm gonna show just a little bit of Necrofix of you in action, just so to provide a little context here. So hopefully I can get this to come up, and get our mute playlist to stop playing for a second. There it is.
There's a young sugar.
You won't be able to hear it, but I'm pretty sure this is the song
really?
"All Lies." I'm back in the back drumming somewhere.
Wow, look at that young little kiddo.
Yeah.
And there's that famous pole. The famous pole at this is the back room, I believe. Pre-new back room.
Classic.
It would be good. What?
You just cursed. Ah, the back room, the smell of the hazers and the goat heads and the whatever else we had hanging up in there.
But I do think we had the distinction of being, I think, one of the only bands, at least for a while, that would play there that didn't have a guitar player. We were that. This was a metal bar, kids, by the way. It was kind of known for the
Yeah, I keep forgetting
rougher edge.
The back room isn't there anymore. It's it's emos now. And emos used to be over on 6th Street, but the back room was
all. Yeah, they're all Starbucks at this point.
The back room was a horribly dank, or wonderfully dank, I should say, pool hall that was on one side of the place.
Yeah.
And then the music venue was on the other side.
Yep.
And there was just cocaine residue
really good
all over the place.
The green rooms were just great.
Yes. I have watched people licking a table. I won't even mention who it was, but it was a mutual friend of ours licking a table. It was not his high point.
Of the aquatic variety.
So yeah, I used to get so mad at you. You guys, you took a shameful joy at programming music that was exceptionally difficult to reproduce for me sometimes. The arrangements and
as
whatnot.
It was, and that was specifically after a while it became kind of a game to see if you could play along with it. And so we would intentionally go in and try to write songs that would have a tempo that would just go and then come right back in instantly, and you would get it. That's why we hired you for $50 a night.
Well, I was to be fair, I was driving a Geo Metro at the time, and I was getting 50 miles a gallon.
The red one.
Overhead that I sold to your old girlfriend. The overhead was low back then, so.
The days. I remember coming over to your little squatter pad with your mattress on the floor, and you'd cook me hamburgers with jalapenos, I believe you would mix within the ground beef.
It was not a mattress on the floor. It was a futon. Thank you very much. But I used to see, I'd see a girl at a club and go, God, I'd like to get her in floor. You know, it was always a thought going through my head back then. Yeah, it was pretty pathetic. We were not living high. I wish I had a picture of that place handy, but.
But you know, those are actually unfortunately the fond memories of my life.
Isn't that sad? That was the high bar for some of us.
Yeah, the low bar at the time is really the high bar of life. So
Where the winner is the loser. Let's move on real quick. I told you I found a couple of gems today while I was digging around. I really went on some wormholes with the 8mm video and did not realize how much I had just dumped off those tapes and hadn't gone through. And I was like, holy crap, there was a lot of stuff there. But here is you attempting to sit in with the band Burn at Liberty Lunch. I don't know if you remember this. Speaking of high points in somebody's career.
I remember hitting the concrete quite hard.
Well, here is you. I think, what was it? Push. What was the name of the song? I can't remember, but here is you.
Push it. Be too far.
Now let's see. I think I saw you jolly jumping on there for a second there.
It's hard to make.
Wrong one.
Puppy.
Hang on.
No, that's
hang on. Don't say nothing.
Land.
Don't say nothing. Okay, you got yanked off. There's you trying to sing along, and then there you're yanking you off. Okay, you went off. You're on stage left right now, but you're not done. You're not done yet. There's Dale running across the stage, and now they're dragging you toward the green room, and you are trying so hard to get Clay's attention right there. And now there's three of them dragging you off.
Yeah. There's a door right behind where you see me dragging me, and I got tossed on my face. What happened was there was a sex doll involved, and I kicked it, and it hit the monitor guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was really motivation for their anger with you.
Yeah, I had kicked a blow-up sex doll, and it managed to hit the monitor console board guy. It was the first one seen trying to remove me from the venue.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I actually saw some of the backstage footage, and yes, there were actually two blow-up dolls back there, and it was a white one. There was a white one and a black one. So moving on.
Well, we got to be.
We all put together a little project called Digit. After.
Yep.
After kind of during and after Necrofix, and what was the point of Digit?
Digit was just the bleed over of being around all these metal bands, and so it was kind of like, all right, let's try it with a guitar, and it was more or less the same thing, but with guitar, I think, and then also trying to freak you out by having impossible beats to play.
Yeah, because that thing didn't last very long.
We had one show. I think that was about it. I remember a lot of late night studio sessions with the aforementioned aquatic animal, who was living in a studio on the south side.
Yeah. And
we would kind of move in. He literally lived there. I think he told me he had read the Fountainhead Shrugged, or no, Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged,
probably.
Fucking Rand book, and he decided to quit his job and just live in the music studio.
As most people do once they read Atlas Shrugged. They give it all up and move into a
apparently. I've seen like a part of the movie, I think, on Skinaflix.
But then after Digit, you started helping Burn out with some of their music.
I did. I remember there was a late night session at the aforementioned Aquatic Animals little house where me and Rich, with the aid of some
stuff,
some sort of hallucinogenic thing, And we did a remix of a song called Gray. And I remember at some point in the night, we're basically just left in there shirtless with the ASR 10 sampler and came out with the most bizarre fucking thing I think I've ever done.
Hey,
Which also probably
well, you did Incest too, right? Wasn't that one of the tracks? Incest?
We're breaking the internet again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's working. So anyway, I also found you were talking about swinging from things. I found a little bit of that from the Ritual show. They did a Burn did a gig
with plexiglass.
What? We did it.
Is this with or without plexiglass?
This was with plexiglass. We did a show that was called Rituals at least I think it was the plexiglass one, at the back room, and it was a big turnout and just freaked people out. There was suspensions going on, and that's with the hooks in the backs and stuff, and they did a flesh tug-of-war and scarred people and stuff on stage.
I was going to say there was audience participation.
Yes. So here's a little clip of Alan from Obscurities being suspended and smoking a cigar while Burn is playing. Let me see if I can get that to come up. This guy has deep sea fishing hooks in his back, as well as the other guy. And I don't remember the other guy's name. And now he's smoking a cigar. And we are playing a song that I can't remember the name of. Oh, it's Incest. It's Incest. That guy is hanging from hooks right now. That is Bear from Forbidden Fruit, just helping him with his suspension. I remember...
I've heard this is really good to get the kinks in your back, you know, if you got lower back pain.
Oh, yeah. If you have a slip disc or something, that'll knock it right out.
Absolutely.
I remember our aquatic friend who's on stage left right now, he got so freaked out by this stuff that he went and puked off stage during part of it when one of those guys grinned at him.
Yeah, remember that, yes. I remember vomiting on stage because I had a bottle, like a cooler with a Jaeger in it next to me.
Yes, there's a lot of Jägermeister at those shows. It's a hell of a thing to get loaded on. So now Alan's like really swinging now.
Flogger.
And I think in a second, Alan starts kicking Clay while Clay's playing.
Which is a bad idea.
Alan was a nice guy.
Now, are you intentionally not getting sound because how horrible all this was at the time, or it's just like
no, it's going out. The audio's going out. You just can't get it. I haven't figured that out yet. It just causes problems every time I try to send you the audio feed. But he's really going to town right now. I wonder what his skip back looks like right now, because this was back in '95.
It's probably really loose.
He had a really cute girlfriend. She was like one of those influencers before there were influencers. She had the kind of half Asian and crazy tats all over and 1 million followers. It was pretty crazy. I don't remember her name, though.
Vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So anyway.
It's a fun show, right, kids?
That whole crowd was just ashen. They did not know what to make of that.
Yeah, Burn took it to a new level. I remember the pig heads.
Yeah, we'd have goat
various
heads.
Animal body parts that would be hanging from hooks.
I was in charge of buying the goat heads.
The smell was tremendous.
I'd have to go pick up a case of goat heads from Texas Meat Purveyors before every gig.
I thought you got a Fiesta.
No, I got a pig head from Fiesta. But the goat heads came from Texas Meat Purveyors. So
Again, the beauty of living in Texas, you know, we're like a step away from Florida.
I had a horrible story. After one of those burn shows, I had to go back to the back room. I'd left my stick bag underneath the drum riser. A week later, I went in there, and there was still a goat head underneath the drum riser. A week later. Freaking horrible.
That tells you just how bad the place originally smelled before the.
Oh, well, you couldn't. How could you tell? A goat head actually is probably an improvement. There's just so much nicotine and BO in there. So moving on, let's go. Let's fast forward a few years, and you got bored and started what?
Furiously masturbating all the time.
Other than that, you started a band with a name that no one would ever possibly remember. And I never could understand.
Own.
Yes, OHN. We've been looking at slides. A lot of the slides up here are from that era. We never had a good photographer.
That's what I got. I was actually more active around that period, I think.
But you really found your stride, I think, as a producer. You stopped trying to be skinny puppy and decided.
I stopped trying to be. Yeah, stopped trying to be other bands, and then tried to copy other bands.
Yeah, you're copying shifted genres, and you went more the Thievery Corporation route, which you would later go on to actually collaborate with, right? A little.
Yes, but you're skipping way ahead.
I know. I need to back up.
Owen was my originally, at least the first album. I just wanted to make industrial music not industrial, down tempo instrumental music that could possibly be used behind movies and commercials. And by the way,
soundtrack stuff.
I still get checks for Own. It's used on shows all the freaking time.
What?
In fact, I was in Florida at a family retreat, and we were watching some show called like How Stuff Works or something like that. And my sister was like, "Isn't that your music playing?" And I was like, I had to like lean in. I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is my music being used in this show."
Well, it is. It is perfect. I mean, it for me, it was always the perfect study or play video games to music or just whatever. It was great to throw on in the background. And I actually probably owe you a few royalty checks myself. I've used several of your tunes on my kids' videos. You know, videos of my son.
I don't think I'm going to check for that.
I'm just waiting. I'm going to send you one big check instead of just inundating you with little teeny ones.
Well, I mean, I spent so much of my own money getting all those albums done, and like we built that studio in my house.
Yeah, there's pictures of it right
really
now.
Nice.
We're looking at pictures.
Yeah, we like built a studio in my friend's house,
Allendale,
and the old shag carpet with the pool table place. And my concept with Own was I knew all these great musicians in town, right? Because I'm in Austin, Texas. So I would ply people over with wine and just record them sort of improvising to nothing. And then I had Pro Tools at the time, which was kind of like a big woo, yeah. And I would go in and I would chop up what they did and then create albums out of that. So instead of like going and sampling Led Zeppelin or some shit like that.
But that was verboten all of a sudden.
What do you mean?
That was a no-no.
What's that word mean?
That was a no-no to do,
To sample?
Yeah, sampling had to go away for a little while. It got too expensive.
Yeah, but that's not really why I did it. It was just more of an experiment, just to mostly to drink a lot of wine and hang out with friends. But yeah, the albums came out pretty good.
And who
At
were
least
some
the first
of
album?
Well, who were some of the notables? You had a few notables that you interacted with, other than us bozos.
Well,
just go ahead and give everybody a shout out.
Chris, he hand makes all the guitars he's playing. Sorry, that's a good one. He hand makes every single guitar he plays. That's how he makes his living. He's still out there on Facebook. You can get in touch with him for Soggy Custom Guitars. He makes beautiful, beautiful instruments that are used by lots of famous musicians around the world. So that's Chris, and then that's Chris right there. I always thought he looked kind of like someone from Fish.
We never had a decent photo session ever.
It's impossible. I'm the least photogenic person in the world, and as you can see, we're like the Spice Boys of electronic guitar music.
This is 2003, by the way.
2003?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can't believe I'm alive.
Yeah.
There's Andrew. Andrew was another buddy of mine. He's a really good guitar player. So these are all just like, they're more learned guitar players as opposed to, the kind of stuff. And Andrew is a really excellent guitar player, and he brought in, I think, on one of our biggest songs called Cowboys and Indians, he had a thing called a dobro.
Yeah, that thing was bad.
Well, dobro, I think, was the magnetic thing that they used to hum the strings. Or I'm completely wrong, but he had this basically metal guitar that looked like someone made on a back porch in Arkansas somewhere, and it just had this unique kind of deliverancy twang to it that I liked a lot.
Is that what they call a Nashville guitar, maybe?
No, it had a very unique name.
But yeah, it did make that song.
Dobro. I can't remember if Dobros. The other thing Chris would use all the time is a device that it's basically kind of like a magnet, I think. And so you would hold it near the guitar strings, and it would cause them to vibrate, and you can make this eerie.
The EBO.
EBO. Okay, so dobro is the guitar. That's not it right there. And the other thing you said is the one with the EBO, magnetic vibration.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yes. I'll play.
Which is still.
I've got a little own that we can play. I won't play the whole thing because it's kind of long. We went and played on Austin Music Network, and I don't remember what year that was. That was a few years after.
And I remember. Yeah, we had. I think Andrea and Laura came and lovely decorated the whole studio for us.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Laura Scarp is a very super talented musician that I had another band with around this same time called Lila's Medicine, which was kind of a super group of Austin's best talent. So Sean wasn't in that.
So obviously I had no part in that one. So
we had Brendan Temple. So
yes, Brendan Temple of Sheena Easton fame and many things since.
Many things since.
No shame being 20th place to Brandon Temple. So anyway.
Yeah. I mean.
So here is a little own from that thing. I'm just gonna play a little bit of it, and hopefully this works.
Okay.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, you picked that 8-minute epic.
Now, who was the guy that did the art on this?
He's a fellow by the name of Ken Adams who studied with Terence McKenna. And I don't know if you kiddies know who Terence McKenna was. He was a more literary version of Timothy Leary. And so there's a lot of shamanistic, psychedelic influences going through his artwork. And he did several videos for us. And so
he pretty much provided visuals for that whole session.
He did, yeah. And these weren't easy for him to come up with. There's some really weird stuff going on in there. A lot of
All right, I'm gonna let it play for a second. And we're back. So yeah, it was trippy little tune.
I was going to mention Chow Boudreaux. I believe
Ciao.
he was playing bass. Chow.
I get so confused. They were switching off back and forth a lot.
Well, that was another thing that I stipulated with the band. I wanted to have musicians because I always thought it was kind of cool when bands were playing live if everyone just switched instruments and then everyone was like always playing something different. So that was another. This was about jamming a lot of too many concepts into one thing on one stage at one time.
All right.
But Chow is a very good, talented musician from a band called Soak, which I don't know if you want to get into Soak.
Well, that could be an entire episode, and probably will be. But that's one thing that you and I both intersected on was definitely Soak, because we both had the same job.
Yeah. Yeah, we both tried out, and Sean won because he is a nerd and prepared. And I went in there and just thought I'd figure it out on the fly.
Speaking of preparing, you were still asleep, I think, when I called you to get on the Skype call here. So not much has changed.
No. I find that these days it makes things a lot better if you just don't wake up a whole lot.
Passes the time.
And then you have the breakfast of champions.
No, good for you. So do you want to fast forward a little bit more? Because it gets better.
Do you want to talk? You don't know much about Lila's medicine, do you?
No,
that was my other.
Well, that doesn't really count because I didn't intersect with it, so I didn't prep it.
Okay, is that the theme of this show?
That's kind of the hook. Yeah,
it's all about you.
No, not all about me.
Whatever.
But it would be weird if I sat there and tried to reminisce about something I knew nothing about.
Oh, I do it all the time.
But yeah, let's move forward. So you got tired of all the fame and fortune of Own.
There's Ryan Bloom Crystal. That's the other person. He's playing the keys. He came in like on the second album, and I believe he's in New York and married, and he went to the New School of Music up there. He had this very deep voice.
He's an interesting, good-looking fella. He'd play. Yeah. He had that Nord lead. Was it? He didn't have a Nord lead. You had a Nord lead.
It was his.
That was his.
I have a Nord lead. He had the Nord Electro.
That's right.
The Electro was more Hammond sounds.
The pianos.
More contemporary. Right. I sent you that.
Speaking of which, I did just. This is such an aside. What?
We never even mentioned Rich, who was my partner in Necrofix.
See, it was all about you, wasn't it? You didn't mention Rich. You didn't mention Matt. It was all about Bill. I
was kind of just trying to fast forward through that old the Necrofix part. Although I go back and listen to it, some of it makes me cringe, but there was some interesting shit going on in there. You know, when you're young and dumb and don't know what you're doing, sometimes accidents can happen that are good. Yeah. I think.
No, you and Rich were both UT. You met at UT. Y'all were both computer science geeks.
Yeah, we met in the first electronic music course at UT. It was a class of about 12 people, and one of my fellow students was also my jazz appreciation teacher professor. I was in his class at the same time of about 500 people. And so I got away with not having to do a lot of tests and just kind of, I would show up and give him a napkin from the elephant room to prove that I had gone and listened to some jazz at some point. Quality education. Thanks, parents.
Well, your partner Rich ended up working in the defense industry, programming fighter jets.
Yeah, get the girl.
And
yeah, that's among. Yeah, he was a very, very smart fella.
And Matt has a nice family, and I don't know if he's living in Houston or Dallas. I can't remember.
I think he is back or still in Katy or Houston. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
And again, we could go on forever about all this because he was also in Mentalo and the Fixer, which was another like kind of big industrial band at the time. And
That could be its own wormhole for sure.
I know this is like going down the little YouTube thing or whatever, but so fast forwarding, I was in this band called, sorry, I have to just say this because it ties in. I was playing in the Virgin Islands with Lila's Medicine, and I was doing an all-night bar session. I think we played 7 hours, and this girl walks in who was a good buddy of mine in college named Heather, and I hadn't seen her in years, you know, and so I ended up giving her an own CD. A year later, I get an email from her husband, who is the artist relations for C3 Entertainment and Theory Corporation's tour manager. And I guess he just loved that first own CD, and he said, "Hey, do you want to like do a one of those ATL after shows?" You know, so I think Owen did one of them or something. And then one day he said, "Hey, can you mash?" He's friends with Manu Chao, and he's like, "Can you mash this Manu Chao song with the Clash, Rock the Casbah?" And I was at work, you know, having lots to do, so I belted it out in about 2 hours and sent it back to him. I was like, "You mean like this?" And he's like, "This is awesome!" And he sent it to Manu. Manu loved it because Manu's a big Clash fan. And then he sent me a Thievery song and wanted to mix it with another Manu song. And so I did that. And then we sent that to the Thievery people, and they all loved it so much. And then they ended up getting us to do remixes for some of their ESL artists. And then we, finally ended up on a 12-inch. And then we had to kind of find a name for ourselves because
Uh-oh. We're hiccuping. We've hit a digital pot. Oh, there you're back.
Hi. Yeah, so our first show coming up was Lollapalooza, so we had to like come up with a name and figure out what the hell we were going to be doing. And we finagled. One of the remixes we did was a song called "Orgasm" by Porno for Pyros, which was Perry Farrell's band after Jane's Addiction. And so we sent the song to Pete, who was a guitar player in Porno for Pyros, and we invited him to come play with us at that Lala show on that song. And then he ended up staying the whole show. And we also had Frank Gorel from Theory playing with us. Okay, this is going to get really long if we get into the Herbstrong stuff, but and then we invited him back. We played a Euphoria Fest here, and we found out he was telling us we thought that Pornos broke up because they were all terrible, terrible heroin addicts at the time. And he said, "No, we actually had to break up because I got testicular cancer, and I have one ball." Because he had to have one of them removed. And we were like, "Oh wait, we're Lance Herbstrong. You have one testicle. You're in the band, dude." And so from that point on, he was in the band just so we can have a one testicle representation.
That's a picture of him right above you right now.
Yeah, that was we were playing one of these.
Our connection has the coronavirus.
That's where it started. That was in Mexico, actually, and we had come out of doing a shaman sweat lodge. We're all on LSD, and that was a picture taken immediately after we got out of the shaman sweat lodge experience, which is quite an experience. Gotta tell you that.
Oh, perfect. I wish I could go back to it.
All right.
So I actually did intersect with you guys. I got to play a New Year's Eve show with you guys in Denver, 2012.
You did?
I don't
even remember that.
You know, there actually is. I put a survey question up on this live stream. I don't know. I don't even know if I could see that. Oh, is it not even showing? Okay, I just put a question up, a poll. It's a true or false question. I don't know if anybody can see it, because I can answer the question in just a second. Anyway, it may not work, but there was speculation on, did Lance Armstrong approve of you calling the band Lance Herbstrong?
So C3 Entertainment also represents Lance Armstrong. And so Kamal was friends with him. And one day Lance went in to meet with his lawyer at C3, and his lawyer happened to have one of our Lance Herbstrong shirts on his desk. And Lance was, talking about charity or something. I don't know. And he was like, "What is that?" And then, because no one knew how he would take it at C3. And he was just like, "Oh, it's just some band in Austin." And so he's like, "Can I have one of those shirts?" So he can have one of those shirts. And then he
well,
ran
it's definitely
into
an ask
Kamal,
for forgiveness later thing, right?
Oh, yeah. But we were making fun of him. It was just, we had so many different names that we were coming up with. What was like Bong Jovi, or what was some of the other ones? I can't remember. But just since it had an Austin connection, we went with that one. But Lance bumps into Kamal in the hall and shows him the shirt. He goes, "Do you know anything about this?" And Kamal didn't know what to say because he's in the band with me. He goes, "Yeah, that's me, actually." And so Lance said, "Can you get me into one of your shows?" And we're like, sure. And then he tweeted out Lance Herbstrong to his 12 billion followers. And then all of a sudden we had a lot of bicyclists joining our Twitter feed. So yeah, he approved. He approved of it. He knew we weren't making fun of him.
Well, if there
he
was
was
ever
down, he would always...
Yeah. I'm gonna prove he approved. You ready? Okay, I'm gonna prove it.
There's the man.
And there he is, the man himself, fitting in with you guys.
Yeah, that was...
And there you are, and there's Kamal, and there's Peter. That had to be surreal.
And then I remember I went over there.
Outstanding.
Did you hear me talking through it, or was it just...
No, you got to repeat it.
Yeah, no one knew he was going to be doing that. That was a surprise. Our drummer at the time, Ricky Gonzalez, shout out, great drummer, went over to Lance's house and kind of taught him and boned him up on, how to play, at least get through, several of these songs. And I remember this is the time he was having to sell his mansion that he had over here. And I remember because I had to pull up and I had a Prius and I had all my monitors and stuff so we could do a rehearsal. And Ricky's there. And I drive up and he's got like a big house on one side and then like a little house over here. And I kind of pull over to the big house. And Lance was like, no, 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 we're gonna go in the guest house. And so I was like, okay. And I ended up driving through his front lawn to get over there. And he was sitting there with Ricky going, no one's ever just driven through my fucking lawn to get here. So that's how he knew how intelligent I was.
Oh, they don't call you Lightning Boy for nothing.
Not at all. But yeah, so that show there is we were headlining the Austin Reggae Fest, and mid-show we just brought out Lance Armstrong as, hey, come play on like 4 or 5 songs, and the crowd just was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I think it made the news.
That is pinch me stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah. He's a great guy. I had a lot of good times hanging out with him. We also played a couple more shows with him. Did one at Beauty Bar, and then in Aspen at the Belly Up. We did another one with him.
Where did we play in Colorado? What was the name of that town? Do you remember?
I told you, I barely even remember you did that.
I think it was Avon. And then we played in Denver the next night at the One Up. That was like an adult arcade.
Oh, you did the One Up with us?
Yes. That was
kind of a weird one.
That was a very
weird.
It
was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think I tried to open up with Pac-Man Fever. I don't think it went over all that well, but
I'm still mad at them. They were supposed to send us a board tape of that and never did it. So
oh really?
I would love to have that.
I think they were having a real hectic night. I just remember the managers looking a little worried the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it was 2 people in there; it was packed. But yeah, it was a fun one.
I don't know. There was. I think there was a little bit of. Maybe they were worried about the drugs and stuff because I think there was a little of that in there.
Yeah, it's been known that joints get thrown up to the audience at our shows.
Well, anyway, we're right at about 50 minutes, so I think that might be a good point to just let you get back to sleep.
Actually, I got some people coming over. They're going to make me dinner, and then I got to do Kimmel in about 30 minutes. So
yeah, you don't want to blow all your A material.
Yeah, I got to be spry for that guy.
Well, cool, man.
Well, this has been fun.
It's been real fun, and definitely going through the Wayback Machine. And honestly, we have several other episodes worth of crap in our rearview mirror that we could go over, but this was a good little overview.
I mean, we gave you the tippy tip. We gave you just the tip tonight of basically all these stories. Because I mean, I remember you said you wanted it to be PG, so I'm being delicate on a lot of these.
Well, we'll have a different show for the blue stuff for later.
Maybe we'll get
Russell.
Sponsor it.
Well, we've had some well wishers along the way, and
hello,
and
hello, yay.
And we had one request for Caroline by Soak, but that's not really. That'll be the Soak episode that we'll do that, Rick. That was Rick Rojo.
By the way, I did a remix of that song that was really good. I remember I used the beat off a Public Enemy song.
Really? When did you do that?
Fuck, don't ask me to remember things, but it was really cool. And I remember I took the Caroline, because remember the Carolines were on the upbeats, and I just kind of put them all in downbeats, but it had that heavy, God, what was that? It's like 8,000 miles to something. I forget the Public Enemy song, but it's got that fat, like Led Zeppelin kind of beat behind it.
What, by the time I get to Arizona?
Yeah.
Or
That's the one.
oh, well, you got to send it to me if you can find it.
John Moyer, if he's out there, he might have it.
I tagged him. I
I'll
tagged
have
him
to-
on this. So,
I saw that.
so anyway, do you got anything you need to you want to plug or anything while we have
Uh,
a second?
Wash your hands, people. Wash your hands.
Man, you had to go and remind me of that. You know, I had forgotten that that was even going on for like half an hour now. So now we're back to grim reality. I'm just go watch my hummingbirds.
Yeah. I've been catching up on all this TV I'm supposed to see. Like I'm watching Game of Thrones now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? There's this Ned Stark character. He's fucking badass. I can't wait for him to I can't wait to see like how he kicks the Lannisters' asses because I could tell he's going places.
Yeah. Well, you ride that rocket, baby. All right, man.
So I'll ride it off to the sunset. You have a wonderful night.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you again. I can't thank you enough for being your first guest, season 1, episode 1 of the Wrap Out. So,
Wow, I can't wait to see it on Talk Soon.
all right, Daddy. All right, we'll see you soon. Love you, man.
Bye.
Adios. Bye, everyone. Thank you. More to come.
I just want to feel your touch. I just want to bite your lip. Chew it up like bubble gum.